What up, this is my pay-per-view review of Ring of Honor's newest pay-per-view outing, Driven 2008. Star of the pay-per-view opened up with Aries on the mic calling out Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy Jacobs then comes out there, says, "No, I'm not going to be facing you tonight. Me and Tyler Black have to defend the tag team titles in the main event against Kevin Steen and El Generico." So then this leads to an impromptu match between Delirious versus Aries, and I thought this match was pretty much put on here for the pay-per-view audience, and it was pretty much a subpar match, very generic stuff between these two, what you would see, in just the very generic match between these two. It was okay at best. They probably could have had a whole lot better opener with something else, possibly, the Scramble Match, or, the Sweet and Sour Incorporated tag team match versus Albright and Stevens. That probably would have worked better as the opener, but nonetheless, for storyline reasonings and showing that Delirious has turned heel and now he's with the Age of the Fall, you had to do that on the pay-per-view for that reasoning, and I thought they did a good job of, saying why Delirious turned heel, after the whole Delirious and Rhett Titus feud, and after, Delirious lost Daisy Hayes, wasn't able to get her, basically made him go insane, and now he's pretty much has Jimmy Jacobs has mind control over him, which I thought they did a good job telling that in this match. At pretty much the end portions of this match, you saw Delirious hit the panic attack onto Aries. Then he was about to go for the win, but then Jimmy Jacobs was outside the ring, said, "Don't end it here." He was about to run through, hit another panic attack. Aries got out, hit him with a drop kick, then a running drop kick into the corner, into a brain buster. Then he hit the knees to the shoulder right before he put in the last chancery for the victory. And I would say a 2-star match. Pretty much, like I said, a match to put over Delirious is a heel now, and now he's with the Age of the Fall for possibly the people that didn't know, or just the people that are just following Ring of Honor mainly through the pay-per-views, which I highly doubt that many people just watch the pay-per-views, and that's the only way they know Ring of Honor, because, just with the buy rates, you can tell it's just pretty much Ring of Honor's core audience, and hopefully they can, get a TV deal at some point and do something, try to get some outside fans to give Ring of Honor a shot. I mean, I gotta say, this was a very good pay-per-view from Ring of Honor, and for like only $10 to $15, it's definitely worth it, I would say. But let me get back to the review. Then after this, they had the, pretty much what they do at every pay-per-view, either at the beginning or after a segment or a match. At the beginning, they go to a video package of Driven. Pretty good video package. I definitely got to say the production value for this pay-per-view was a whole lot better than the previous pay-per-view, and I've been hearing that possibly they might be getting some production company in the Las Vegas area to kind of help them with the production value for the pay-per-views, which if they do that, they will definitely need that, because I don't care about production value really, but for the pay-per-views, I feel you have to have higher production values and make it seem different and bigger than the other shows to put over that, this is a pay-per-view that's supposed to be one of the big Ring of Honor shows of the year, and I think with bigger production values and a little more hype, they definitely need to do that. But next matchup was Larry Sweeney was in the ring, got on the mic, said, "Sara Del Rey, I got a opponent for you," brought out a unnamed opponent. The commentators never mentioned who it was. It was Jessie, McKay, and this was just a squash match. Nothing more to talk about. Sara Del Rey squashed her very quick, not even worthy of getting a star rating. Then after this, the Sweet and Sour Incorporated was still out there. This leads to Larry Sweeney getting back on the mic, saying that his guys Adam Pearce and Eddie Edwards are ready for their match they're going to have against Brent Albright and Erick Stevens. Very good tag match between these two teams. Like you would expect, Brent Albright and Adam Pearce did good with each other. They meshed very well. Pretty much everyone in this match worked very well with each other. Definitely glad to see Eddie Edwards on a pay-per-view, and hopefully Ring of Honor starts keep utilizing them the way they are with them, because definitely he's a very good talent. Some people might not, think he's as good as I do, but definitely if you give him a chance, he'll definitely grow on you. He's definitely a good talent. I'm glad Ring of Honor is starting to utilize him, like I said. Erick Stevens did some good stuff in here. Just a, good overall tag match. And a match like this, and if they didn't do the squash before this, it probably would have maybe started off better, starting pay-per-view off with that, but I guess due to the fact the way the last pay-per-view ended with Aries and Jimmy Jacobs on the ladder, and Necro knock the ladders over. You had to, capitalize on that at the beginning of the pay-per-view with Austin Aries. So at least it made sense, but match quality, could have had a better match as the opener, like I said. Then the way this match ends, Brent Albright hits the half Nelson suplex onto Adam Pearce in a 3-star match. Definitely enjoyed it. Then up next was Jerry Lynn versus Chris Hero. Right before this, after the match previous before this, you saw Erick Stevens and Brent Albright chase Larry Sweeney to the back, and this leads, the rest of Sweetens Are Incorporated out there. Jerry Lynn comes out there on the mic. Very good pop from the crowd. Pretty much the generic veteran versus, young punk, saying that I'm going to beat the respect out of you. Then, the match, pretty much another impromptu match between these two, which was a good match, but it wasn't a great match. I was expecting maybe a little more from it. But definitely glad to see Jerry Lynn in Ring of Honor. Pretty much this match was to put over that, previously at the Northern Navigation show, Chris Hero took out Lance Storm, and Jerry Lynn was about to come back and react revenge. And then Chris Hero picked up the victory in this match. Pretty much shady tactics, using a elbow pad that was pretty much, some type of steel or something in it. Definitely padded, and he hit Jerry Lynn with the roaring elbow with the, knockout kid gimmick, which is very cheesy gimmick. I wish they could figure out something better to do with Chris Hero. He is a good talent, but this whole knockout gimmick is ridiculous and it's idiotic. Hopefully they do something better with him, possibly, a Kings of Wrestling reuniting, especially since Claudio Castagnoli is a heel now. But nonetheless, was a good match, but I was expecting a little more from it. 2.5 stars. Then the next matchup was an excellent match. It was Claudio Castagnoli versus Bryan Danielson versus Go Shiozaki in an Elimination Three Way. And before the match started, they showcased at the Port of Honor 6 show, showcasing that after the match in the 4-way for the title match at that show, showed that Claudio Castagnoli snapped and turned heel, and now is a full-fledged heel and attacked Bryan Danielson, meaning why this match had to take place. And I thought they did a good job of showing that before that. That's one thing I do give the Ring of Honor commentators, and the way they, utilize clips in these shows, pretty much filling in the fans that, don't follow every single show. Possibly, I would say pretty much if you follow a little of the video wires and you've seen all the pay-per-views, you pretty much know exactly what everything's going on in Ring of Honor. There might be a few things you're missing, but not that much. I think they do a good job with that. But this was a good 3-way. Started off with Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson pretty much back and forth, beating the hell out of each other. Go Shiozaki was pretty much not in it at the beginning. Between these two, you just saw them two pretty much fighting. Then Claudio Castagnoli snapped again. It looked like he was going to be able to defeat Bryan Danielson. He got frustrated again. He attacked the ref, then got DQ'd. He then beat up a lot of security, then was thrown to the back. Definitely, good job that he's a heel. Definitely, that's one guy that I didn't really like him being a face too much in Ring of Honor. I think he works a whole lot better as a heel, and definitely this heel persona he's doing now is working very good to his advantage. Then after that, you had Bryan Danielson and Go Shiozaki. These two, for about 10 to 12 minutes, pulled off some excellent stuff between these two. There's a couple times you thought Bryan Danielson was going to win this very early, but Go Shiozaki was able to get out of the cat mutilation 2 times. Then they did a lot of good back and forth action between these two. A good mix of technical ability, a little of the pure style of Japan, and these two worked very good with each other, like you would expect from the match they had back in 2007 at Live in Tokyo, probably one of Ring of Honor's best matches of that year, and been wanting to see these two in the ring with each other. So this is the first time since then in a one-on-one occasion you get to see that. And like I said, for 10-12 minutes, you saw some excellent stuff between these two. Bryan Danielson ends up picking the victory up after getting Go Shiozaki into the triangle choke. After repeated elbows, Go Shiozaki passes out, and Bryan Danielson wins the match. Very exciting match, 3 3/4 stars. I know some people might think I'm overrating it, but I definitely enjoyed that match that much. Just like I said, the stuff that Danielson and Go Shiozaki did was excellent in that match. Then the next matchup was a scramble match, which this was kind of weird positioning to be on this pay-per-view. After an exciting match like that, then, two, good co-main events for the titles. This kind of a weird place to put this. Something like this probably, would have worked better. Some of the undercard could have probably been switched, the rotations of the match. But the Scramble match involved the Briscoe brothers versus the YRR, Jason Blade and Chase and Rance versus the Vulture squad of Ruckus and Jigsaw versus Necro Butcher by himself in a Scramble match. And this was very weird seeing Necro Butcher in here by himself, and if some people probably didn't have a problem with it, I thought it was very weird to have him involved in a Scramble match. And it's pretty much, you have three very good teams, a great team in the Briscoes, the YRR, a good team when it's like Jason Blade and Kenny King teaming up, and that's a tag team I wish Ring of Honor would, utilize more, and definitely bring in Kenny King more, because he's definitely a great talent. The Vulture squad are very good for their high-flying ability, so you saw some good stuff in here. It felt like, maybe it could have went a couple minutes longer, and they probably would have pulled off a better match than what it ended up being. At some point or another, you saw Necro Butcher pretty much beating everyone up. And pretty much the reasoning I think Necro Butcher was in here was pretty much for what the commentators did, pretty much putting over that Necro Butcher was in the new Dan Aronofsky film, The Wrestler, which is going to be released in theaters nationally in December. So it's pretty much, I think, somewhat of a cheap plug to pretty much promote that movie and promote that, a Ring of Honor wrestler is in it. So I would say that's pretty much the reason why he was in this match in the first place, to promote that match, promote that movie, And then the way this match ends, Jason Blades takes the Doomsday Device from Jay and Mark Briscoe. They pick up the victory in a 2.5-star match. Some good stuff in it, but I thought maybe if it would have got a couple extra minutes, it probably would have worked out a whole lot better than what it did. And the Necro Butcher part, ever since the beginning of the match, was a little weird seeing, 3 tag teams and just one guy. It kind of looked a little idiotic, I thought. Then the next matchup was for the ROH World Title with Roderick Strong versus defending champion Nigel McGuinness. And these two pulled off a very good match. Now, at the beginning, it was very slow, but it then built up to something very good between these two. My only criticism of this match was that there were way too many near falls. Now, I know Ring of Honor does, pretty much like the Puro style a lot in some of their big title matches and do a lot of false finishes. But this, I think, the last couple false finishes, they kept doing them so much, they were like, the crowd was pretty much getting burnt out, even though the crowd was into this show from start to finish and was very into this match a lot. Nigel McGuinness, the crowd really hates him. He's doing great as a heel, and pretty much he's like the, I would say the John Cena type. Whether you like him or not, you want to see him, and you want to see him get his ass kicked, and somehow or another he always walks out as world champion still. He did retain the title like everyone already knew, and he's still world champion as of right now, with their next pay-per-view taping is going to be on November 22nd from Chicago Ridge, and definitely anyone that's going to that show should get something great. You're going to get a one-time, one night only with Samoa Joe there taking on Tyler Black, an I Quit match with Jimmy Jacobs and Austin Aries, and the ROH World Title match with Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson. Definitely that pay-per-view looks like that's going to be a stacked pay-per-view, and it's going to definitely be one of those that are probably going to sell good on DVD due to, Samoa Joe's and Tyler Black's match, since that's obviously not going to be on the pay-per-view portion. It's going to be on the DVD release, so that's going to definitely be a pay-per-view you'll want to check out, and obviously get the DVD when that is released as well. Hopefully, with some people maybe thinking they're going to buy the DVD already, hopefully that's not going to hurt the buy rates for the pay-per-view, because I can still see some people saying, let me wait 3-4 weeks and wait for it to get on DVD, since I'm going to buy it anyway because I want to see, Samoa Joe and Tyler Black. But back to this match, good match. Like I said, too many false finishes. It wasn't calculated as well as, the Tyler Black and Nigel McGuinness match from Take No Prisoner, which had, a lot of false finishes, but I thought that worked good from the beginning to the end, and didn't feel like it was too many of them. Pretty much a lot of the false finishes in the last, I would say, 3-4 minutes, pretty much you already knew, like, okay, we already know Nigel McGuinness was going to retain, even if you, obviously I already looked at the results, and probably everyone already knew the results, but say if you didn't for some reason or another, you could tell within the last 3, 4, 5 minutes possibly that, you could tell that Nigel McGuinness was, starting to kick out of everything. Roderick Strong was starting to do everything to him that he could, and you knew Nigel would come out as Nigel McGuinness will retain the title no matter what, even if you, like I said, didn't know the results already. I thought that kind of took away from the match, but still, nonetheless, a great world title match between those two. I really did enjoy it. I know I kind of downplayed it and kind of, pretty much bashed the match, but not really. I just thought they had way too many false finishes. I'm probably not the only one that would think that. Nonetheless, still a great world title match between these two. They pulled off a lot of great stuff. A lot of good, slow-paced stuff building up to something big in the match. Between these two, and Nigel McGuinness picks up the victory after hitting the Tower of London in a 3 3/4 star match. Then the main event was for the ROH World Tag Team titles, with Kevin Steen and Generico versus the defending champions of the Age of the Fall, Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black. And like you expect, these two teams worked great against each other. And before this match, they showcased, after the World Tag Team titles were vacated, that the Age of the Fall of Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black picked up the titles in a match against Kevin Steen and Generico at the Up for Grabs event back in the beginning of June. So they showcased the titles, the way the titles changed out. I didn't notice on the commentary if they really mentioned the titles were vacated. I remember they, said, back at the Up for Grabs show that the Age of the Fall won the titles, but I don't know if they, pretty much said anything about the whole vacating of the titles. But I think they might have explained that back at the previous pay-per-view, since the last pay-per-view was after that show as well. But this was a great World Tag Team title match. This was one of those times where I didn't mind the tag team titles having precedence over the world title. I know a lot of times I will bitch about the world title not being the main event, but this was one of those occasions where I didn't have a problem with it because, these two teams worked great against each other. You knew it would be a great match. You knew most likely it was going to be better than the world title match, and it was definitely. This was the match of the night, and incredible stuff between these two teams. It worked very good. Crowd was into this heavily. They were on. I would say the crowd was pretty much up on their feet the whole entire match. There were two portions of this match where the crowd was like pretty much on their edge of the seat, like saying they made it look like two times that the Age of the Fall might have kept the titles. When they did one thing where Kevin Steen was putting Tyler Black into the sharpshooter, then Jimmy Jacobs comes in there and rakes the eyes, and the crowd pretty much, went silent for a minute, and they got back into it. Then one point you thought it would have been over again with Jimmy Jacobs putting El Generico in the end time. He gets out of that. Good back and forth action between those two. Match ends with Steen and Generico hitting their package pile driver brainbuster combination to Jimmy Jacobs for the victory, and El Generico pins Jimmy Jacobs for the victory. They are the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Definitely glad they finally won it. Obviously, you already knew about this, but this was one moment that I wanted to see real bad for this pay-per-view. This was probably one of the reasons I would say a lot of Ring of Honor fans would buy this pay-per-view, is to see Kevin Steen and El Generico's match where they won the World Tag Team Champions, and thankfully they still are the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Hopefully they keep them for a good amount of time. I'm hoping they at least keep it till the 7th anniversary, so have a good lengthy reign as the Tag Team Champions, and possibly, another Briscoes versus Steen and Generico feud, or bring in some other teams from outside organizations, have them take on them, and, they'll do a good job as Tag Team Champions, I think. Definitely, a great moment to see. Crowd was really into this whole entire show. It was Ring of Honor's first pay-per-view in the Boston area. So definitely, I would say Ring of Honor definitely should have another pay-per-view in Boston, just the way this crowd was from the beginning to the end. They were really into the last two matches a lot, and definitely into what Bryan Danielson and Shiozaki did against each other. In the main event, I would say 4 1/4 stars, great World Tag Team title main event between those two teams, like you would expect. Overall, I would give this show an 8.5. Definitely a show I would recommend for people to check out. You get a great main event for the tag team titles, great world title match. Just like I said, the only gripe I had with it was maybe a little too many false finishes. Then, what Bryan Danielson and Shiozaki did for the 10 to 12 minutes they took on each other after Castagnoli was DQ'd in that match. And pretty much everything else was at least solid on this pay-per-view, I would say. So definitely a pay-per-view I would recommend for people to check out. Like I said before, it's only $10 to $15, and for the quality that was on this pay-per-view is definitely worth your $10 to $15, depending on the carry you have. I have Comcast, so it was, I think, $14.95, but definitely worth your $10 to $15, and definitely check it out. All right, peace.